Hi, this is Neelam, studio director at Aradia and Shakti, and I have Amy here, who is one of our, I would say, newer students because when did you start? Like back in November?
Yeah, it was November with Sarah's Kirby confidence class.
Okay. So just tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm actually new to Virginia. I've only lived in Virginia since June. A couple of years back, I had taken an aquatic pole class and I really enjoyed it, but I never really got the opportunity to explore that further. And so when Sarah said, well, I'm teaching this Kirby confidence class for, curvier girls to start learning pole, I was like, wow, that sounds really interesting and something that I'd like to give a
So
shot.
what attracted you to pole dancing? Like, what do you think was that feeling within you that said, okay, I need to try this?
I think after the aquatic pole class that I had taken was, my friend was the instructor and she was looking for students to try it out for her first time teaching. So I jumped on board with that to help her out, and it felt fun. And I mean, previous to that, I had seen a couple of pole dancers at different events and stuff, and I'd always admired watching them because with their level of strength and confidence just wowed me. And I've always thought, wow, wouldn't it be fun to do something that's so beautiful and inspires so much confidence in you? And as somebody who's always kind of struggled with confidence a little, it really struck in me, wow, this is something that, like, I've never seen anybody do that wasn't super confident with what they were doing. And I would love to be able to feel what they're feeling.
That is so wonderful. Like one of the core values here at Aradia and at Shakti both is uh, building our self-confidence back again as women, because somewhere along the lines in our daily life, whether it is through work or with the media or with whatever we go through, there is a certain portion of our life that we lose as women, and confidence is one of them. It's just how we are supposed to be. I'm glad that you brought that up. I really am glad, because like there can be a community of women who can look at pole dancers and have a completely different outlook as to what they're doing, and here you saw confidence in them, in their body and the way they were moving, and you chose to emulate it and bring it in your life. So I'm very glad to hear that. So tell me more. So when you walked into the studio, how did that feel?
Well, so when I first started becoming interested in pole dance, before I lived in Virginia, I had looked into a couple of different studios, and I kept getting closer and closer, being like, yeah, I really want to do this, but there was always like something that held me back. And I think a lot of it was everywhere that I looked, I saw these like perfect model, tiny, skinny little girls doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, I can't do that. There's no way. And as much as I like craved that confidence, it was so hard to see myself being able to do that. So when I first talked to Sarah and she told me about her Kirby confidence class, I'm like, this sounds like something I could do. I'm like, if it's for girls built like me that aren't, background black, like with gymnastics and super skinny and super flexible, maybe there is a place there for me. So I'm like, you know what have I got to lose? So I remember being absolutely terrified the first time I walked into the Ashburn studio because I didn't know what to expect. I'm like, what am I doing? But then, everybody there, just without knowing anybody but Sarah, like the second I walked in, I felt just welcome. And like I didn't feel like I was being judged by anybody. I didn't feel awkward or anything. Like everybody was just like, hey. And I was like, oh, this is not what I expected.
Oh, that is so heartwarming to hear. That is so heartwarming to hear, because we are definitely
throughout every class that I've jumped into, like the first class, no matter if it was aerial hoop or aerial yoga or whatever, I've never once not felt welcome. I've always, every class, I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, we're old friends.
So what made you decide, like after you took, I remember that you took Sarah's Curvy Confidence, and then you decided to take like just became a member and you were like, okay, that's good, because that is a fantastic transition to see as a studio director, when I see that in a student, like something within you unlocked and you were like ready to try everything. So tell me how you came to that decision.
So I knew that there was other stuff that was offered at the studio, but I didn't really know a lot about it. Like I've seen aerial hoop stuff and aerial silk stuff before, but like I never really knew what was involved in any of that. And like I've taken yoga classes in the past, and so like that didn't really puzzle me or anything. But when I came to the fall showcase and I really got to see everything in motion and see what aerial silks look like in person and see what aerial hoop looked like in person and see Emily doing belly dance in person, I was like, wait, this is the stuff that's offered at the studio. I can literally do all these things. And I remember right after the showcase, I had a conversation with Sarah, and I'm like, Sarah, I want to do everything. And she's like, whoa. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I want to do hoop, and I want to do silks, and I want to do it all because it's all right there and I can do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so how has I know, like for all of us, with the coronavirus and having to have moved to virtual classes, how has your experience been with virtual classes as a new student?
It's been an interesting transition. I'm really glad that I was able to so thankful that so many of the teachers have jumped on board and are like, and I feel like it's kept us close as a community, because we're seeing each other's familiar faces every day of the week, and it's kept some semblance of normalcy in our lives, because we're not just sitting here going, oh man, it could be months before I'm back in the studio. What am I going to do? How am I going to practice?
You felt still connected as a community.
Absolutely. And it's awesome that we have that. And at the same time, just because of my daily life and scheduling, I don't always have the opportunity to take every class all the time that I'd want. Like I'm limited to maybe 1 or 2 classes a week, but with everybody being at home and not being able to do anything else, I now all of a sudden have the opportunity to take, like I normally wouldn't have the opportunity to take Emily's Friday night belly dance classes, but now I've jumped in on that because I don't have anywhere to go. So it's like, why not? You know, and some of the yoga classes that didn't fit with my work schedule, I've had the opportunity to jump in on those and experience those that I wouldn't normally get to because they just didn't fit in my schedule before.
Fantastic. Coming back to our, like the value that you started with, like building confidence, what difference have you seen in yourself?
I mean, it's still definitely a work in progress. I know on a personal level, I still have ways to go. And I've tried going different places throughout my life for different types of workout. I used to do Zumba at a place that I worked and various other things. And I think the thing I was always missing was somebody like on the sidelines cheering me on constantly and telling me, no, you're doing really good. And I never had that before. But with this group of people, I've never had to worry about that, because no matter if I only do a move half right, I've never had anybody make me feel like it wasn't enough. I've always had that was really good. Now let's try this. And I've always had, there's always a voice, whether it's a classmate or instructor, just encouraging and not letting me ever doubt myself.
Well, that is wonderful to hear. But I do have to say, I have seen your journey in aerial hoop, and I am absolutely in awe because I think you've done fabulously as far as your aerial hoop journey is concerned. Well, I see you with pole as well, but like that was an apparatus that you tried without having had the mindset that you were going to do it. Like when you walked into the studio, you came in as wanting to try pole dancing, and then all of a sudden you wanted to do aerial hoop, and then I saw you from your first class, and then thankfully you were posting your videos. I was able to keep track of, and then another student, Jade, would post your videos. Just wonderful.
So encouraging to have the support of not having to rely on yourself to feel good about it, but having your fellow students and having everybody just being like, go, you got this, keep going. And there's never a time when anybody doesn't do that. There's always somebody cheering you on. And it doesn't matter if it's the first class or you're 8 weeks into a class, there's still somebody just like pushing you to keep going.
Oh, fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that you have
I
found
totally
your,
do.
but we will keep the online platform going also because, like so many of our students have absolutely loved the ability, just like yourself, when you are in your regular schedule and the later night classes have been, like coming to the studio and then driving back home. It's just that additional time wherein you can just utilize it at home without having to worry about that extra 30 minutes going back and forth. So yes, we're going to keep on doing that, Amy. You look beautiful. Thank you for joining me.
No problem.